Hello, hello, hello. Just make sure. Okay. All right. Just checking everything here. Hello. How's everybody? Beautiful Thursday. Happy, happy Thursday. Let's see here. Put this down. Okay. Gonna give people the opportunity to join if they like to join. Just make sure I got everything ready here. I think I need to find some music or something to put on. So when I come on, have some music or something. I think that's what I need to find. Okay. All right. So hello, 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 everyone. I just had to check everything and make sure all was well. It is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful Thursday. And thank you, thank you, thank you to everyone. Once again, if you viewed the videos that I did on the last live, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Those videos get really good traction, really good views, really good tractions. So I am very, very, very excited about that. Okay. Oh, hello, Alyssa. Oh, did I mess this up? Okay, I think I'm going to mess this up. Alyssa. I think I messed that up. If I messed that up, I do apologize. But hello and thank you for joining us. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And like I said, the videos get really, 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 really good good views. And like I say, I do want you to be able, because the videos, the Q&A sessions, they are really meant for you to be able to ask your specific questions. I usually try to leave you with a tip. Oh, okay, I said it right. Oh, yay, I said it right. Well, thank you for joining us. Thank you so much for joining us. And thank you for letting me know that you appreciate that information. I'm more than happy to be able to provide the information for you. And if you do know anyone that's looking to start a business in the healthcare industry, please, please, please share with them, share the information. I usually try to have the schedule posted at the beginning of the month. I'm running just a little behind with posting the schedule, but I'll have it posted probably by the at least by the weekend. I'll have it posted so that you'll be able to know in advance. You'll be able to know in advance what is, the Q&A sessions that are coming up. And I really, like I said, I really appreciate the views, because the videos get a lot of traction, a lot of views. But I really want you to be able to come on, to be able to ask your question, your specific questions, because I do always try to leave you with some information, and that's going to be useful for you to be able to open your business or to start your business. But I really would like for you to get your individual questions answered, so it won't be so general, because your question that you need to need answered may not be the one that I'm talking about specifically when I leave the information to on the videos. So I want to give you the opportunity to ask your question, and then while we are live, I'm able to answer your question at that time. So it's like I said, thank you once again for your support. Now, I do have a question. Let's see. Okay, do you assist in the paperwork process? Yes. So, Demetrius Idell Success Academy does assist with the paperwork process. We can help you with the application process. So, if you're looking at either starting, like I said, a home care business, or if you're looking at starting an assisted living facility, we do specialize in both of those startup companies. So, yes, we do assist with that. Let's see. In healthcare. Okay, hey, thank you everyone for joining. Thank you. If you just came on, welcome. Thank you so much for joining. I have another question. Do you assist with the startup of any business or healthcare? Yes. So there's two avenues to what I provide coaching in. The first one is Demetrius Idell Success Academy specializes in the 4 business models in the healthcare industry that is dedicated to senior care, and that is the homemaker companion agency, the non-skilled home health agency, or you can look at the when it comes to the assisted living facility or the adult family care home. Now, any of those 4 business models, then through Demetrius Idell Success Academy, we deal strictly with the healthcare policies, procedures, coaching you through the process. That's what we deal with on this side. So if you're interested in starting a business in anything other than healthcare, then you will want to tune into Woot University. Woot University is also a brand that was co-founded with my husband with the intent to be able to help our community start more businesses and be able to provide tools and resources within our community to be able to start those businesses. So if there's any other business that you want to start and looking at as a startup, then we're able to assist you in that. Okay. Like to to the home sit. Okay, so I do have another question. I already have a homemaker companion. I'd like to delve into assisted living. Okay, yes, and again, and that's what this is for. The live is for to answer those types of questions. So what specifically are you looking at, the assisted living model, or are you looking at the adult family care model, or do you know the difference between the two? Because that's very important. So I can definitely go ahead and explain the difference between the two if you need any clarification on those. And as a matter of fact, I'll go ahead and start for the sake of the information. I was going to actually explain that, so I'll go ahead and give the difference between the two models. Now, with the adult family care home, the adult family care home we're here in Florida. Okay, the first thing that we have to understand, let me go back before I go this. If you're in the region, because my coaching is not just here in Florida. So I have clients that I have assisted with these processes in Florida, and I have clients that I've assisted with these services that's in other states. So the thing about it is the foundation of the business doesn't change. The foundation of the business is across the board. It is basic, the foundation of business. Now, when you get into the specifics of, the adult family care home versus the assisted living facility, here in Florida, the adult family care home is a home that you can get licensed. It usually you can either own the home, or you can do a long. I always recommend long-term lease. Okay, you can either lease the home under a long-term lease contract, and yes, they still do long-term leases, or it can be a home, but you must be living in the home. You must be living in the home, and the way the licensure is set up, it is counted by the beds. So the max amount of beds that an adult family care home can ever have is 5 beds. Okay, they don't count it in a per person type licensure process. They do go by is licensed by the bed. So the max beds you can ever have is 5. Now, the assisted living facility, you can have anywhere from 6 or more, depending on where the assisted living is located. So when we're looking at a residential zone, and again, this can vary from state, and it can even vary from counties. Okay, so the basics of it though is, usually when you're looking at an assisted living facility, you do not have to live in the home. The owner does not have to live in the home. The owner, this is more like a institutionalized type setting. It's a home-like, but it has more rules and structures, and that's how it falls up under the category of being defined as an institutional type setting. Now, with this being said, usually you can go anywhere from a minimum of 6 to however many that you can be zoned for locally. So you can be a residential, or you can be in a commercial zone, and that's going to determine how many beds you can be licensed for. Okay, so that's primarily the difference between the two. It's the licensure type and how many beds you can ever hold in each one of those facilities. Okay. Okay, this has good to clear. Okay, and I do have one question. Do you have the list of your fee? Okay, yes, I can definitely email you that information. So what you can do is you can email me, and this is for Latasha. If you email me at success.ddowdell@gmail.com, then I can give you some additional information. And again, that is success.ddowdell@gmail.com. Okay. Now, the adult daycare. As far as the adult daycare, which is a difference in its own, and I do not specialize in that one. However, I've been kind of watching that model, so it won't be. I would say it won't be too long before I actually do look at experimenting with that and looking into actually putting a curricula together to really go into more details about the adult daycare. But no, at this time, I don't specialize in that one. However, I have been looking at it for a little while, and I think that I will eventually put together a curriculum in order to be able to help individuals that are definitely wanting to get those started. I should be able to help them pretty soon with that. Yeah. So, okay, so we got that answered. Just want to make sure that I have everyone taken care of. Okay, so the other thing that I was going to look at is, once we looked at the difference in the types of facility, I kind of covered, how the zoning is what determines one versus the other, how many beds you can ever have for that, how many beds you can go up to. So with that being said, location is key with these type of facilities. So you definitely want to look at, if you are interested in opening one of these, you want to go ahead and get a jump start of looking at the location, because that is key. That is a key part of your marketing strategy. That's a key part of being able to meet the needs of individuals that are looking for these type of services, and just overall being able to provide the service in that area, and especially looking at areas that are in the greatest need for needing these type of services. So if you are interested in starting it, at bare minimum, go ahead, and sometimes like on Saturdays, maybe after, if you're got time off or free time, just begin to kind of look on those different sides of towns, and compare where it is that you want to, that you want to go ahead and open. Because I can tell you now, families really, 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 really look at that. They look at your location and they really want to make sure that their loved one is in a safe environment. So that is going to be one of the key questions that families are definitely going to ask you. And please remember, I said it in the last video, please remember that these families are going to, they're going to, they're going to drill you, okay? Because the use of the internet access, families the information is right there at their fingertips. They are going to make sure that their loved one is in a safe environment, is taken care of, and so they are going to have tons of questions that they're going to ask you. And like I said, a huge part of that is going to be safety. That's going to be their biggest concern, whether it's going to be safety in the neighborhood that you're located or going to be safety within the home when they come out to do the tour. So they're going to be looking at it from both perspectives, okay? So go ahead and like I said, start looking for your location. Start kind of seeing where kind of get an idea of where senior citizens or most of the senior citizens, what side of town do they gravitate? Or another thing, even though I'm going to digress just a little bit, if seniors are your age group, because in either one of these home structures, you are able to provide services for age group anywhere from 18 years old that would be in need of these services to however old goes into the geriatric years. So you have certain age groups that you can look at wanting to provide these services. It depends on their disabilities, the reason some of them are so young that can qualify for these type of services that your home can provide. So you can look at them as young as, like I said, 18. You can even look at younger. Now, I'm going to tell you this now. Pediatrics, I love them, but they're not my cup of tea, okay? So I don't do anything with our babies. I just love them, and that's it. So I'm not a pediatric nurse, and I'm not a pediatric. I don't do any of my services. Don't specialize in them because they are. It really takes someone that are really into that age group to really be able to provide the level of compassion that is needed in order to be able to take care of our babies. So I don't specialize in them, but yes, there are home. You can get certain types of facilities licensed to be able to deal with the pediatrics. And again, I don't deal with that age group, other than to love them. But so I don't have a lot of information or resources on the pediatric group for you. So what was I getting ready to say? So yeah, so when you look at your age groups, again, so 18 and older, you want to look at if you're taking a mixture of clients that you're providing in your home. You want to be very, very careful that if you are going to do a mixture of ages in the home, you have to look at across the board and assess the age groups and how well they're going to fit together. Okay, you may want to think about what I mean by that. Let me give you an example. If you're saying, okay, I want to be able to kind of, generalize my home, I wouldn't recommend it, but if you are wanting to, because it's your business, so you're able to set it up however you want to set it up. But I'm going to give you an example of what I'm talking about. So if you decide, okay, I want to take a couple of 18-year-olds, 25-year-olds, and then I want to take some 70-year-olds. Okay, I want to have just a mixture of all ages. Okay. Now, what you have to think about across the board is the 18-year-olds that may qualify for services that may be in your home. Please don't underestimate that they are still teens, okay? They are still teens. They are still young adults. So a lot of them, even though they may have a disability, they are still they still are teens. They're young adults. They do what young adults do. They like young adults activities. Okay, the 25-year-olds, same age group. They're similar age groups. So now you have to look at how well does that age group pair with my 70-year-old group that is retired. They're looking for a quiet, more settled, more quieter type environment. So now you have to think about, because this is their home. Now this is their home. So when you're looking at bringing a diverse age group into the home, you have to make sure that you're assessing across the board what that looks like. Okay, what that looks like. And then you have to think about, okay, if I take 18, 25-year-old and I put 7, how well are they going to mix? Okay, so just know that you do have that option. The other option that you do have is where you can look at specializing within a group of individuals. So what do I mean by that? You can look at a age group, a niche. Okay, what's your niche? So if you're going to look at providing senior care and focusing on senior care, then your community, you may want to look at somewhere between 55 and older. Okay, and sometimes I say 55 is because a lot of times what you're going to find now in most recent studies and most recent situations is that some individuals are retiring early and they want to go and kind of be in the retirement type community, because a lot of the assisted living facilities, big or small, offer them diverse activities. They're able to be with individuals that are their age group, do things with individuals that are their age group. So a lot of times it's not surprising that you will look at age groups or communities from 55 and older. Okay, then another age group, if you want to look at a younger age group, you may want to look at, if it's your choice, you may want to look at 18 to 25 or 18 to 30, or however you want to be able to group your age groups. Again, just keep in mind that the more diverse you want to establish your assisted living or your adult family care home, just make sure that you also consider compatibility when you look at that, especially with their age group and the type of activities that one particular age group is going to be interested in versus the other. So you want to just make sure that that foundation across the board is is compatible. Okay. The other thing that I wanted to look into that I did touch on was office space. I did for last week when we were talking about the home care setting. I wanted to also mention for the settings that's going to be here in these types of settings, like the adult family care home versus the assisted living facility. We were talking about last week. We were talking about knowing which type of office that you will need to set up in order to run the business. When we looked at the home-based office model versus the commercial-based, where now that we're talking about assisted living or adult family care home, we're talking about office space that is going to be generally located within the home that you are going to be providing the services. This is where individuals are going to now become their home. Once you've completed an admission process on them, then they are going to now become a part of your internal family. They're going to be there with you. You're going to be able to provide the services for them, and the expectation is, or the environment, and with the expectation that yes, this is their home. Okay, this is their home environment. And so we have to also remember that there's a professional side to the healthcare business as well. And in these particular environments, in both of these settings, your office typically is going to be home-based. Okay. So with that being said, there needs to be a designated office within your adult family care home or your assisted living facility. There needs to be a designated office space that's going to be accessible to families and employees. Okay. The reason being is because when you look at the home care model versus the assisted living model, there's not as much traction in coming through the home care office as you're going to find coming into the assisted living type facility type models. When you come to the assisted living facility environment, a lot of things are going to be conducted right there in the home. So the families, there's going to be a lot more traction, because a lot of times the families are going to be coming before they make a final decision. They're going to be coming out to be able to take a tour of your home in order to be able to find out if they want to actually, have their loved ones to now move there and become part of your extended family, so that you're able to provide the services for them that they need. Okay, so it's going to be very important that wherever you, and it has to be accessible. I would not recommend you taking the office and putting it off in a closed room where it's not accessible to the families, because once it's time for them to come in and sit down, if the home is big enough, you can corner off a section in a isolated part of the home where you can set up your home office. Because again, a lot of times you have to think that when they come to the home, that they'll need a place where you will be able to sit down and talk with them, and to be able to negotiate or be able to come to agreements on what it is that the contract that you all are going to agree upon if the loved one is admitted to your facility. So the office does need to meet the same requirements. It has to be set up like an office space. One of the main things that a surveyor is also going to be looking for in your office space is they're going to be looking for to make sure that, one, it is set up like an office. Okay, they're not going to per se survey you on, quote unquote, is this a designated office space? However, there are going to be certain things that you are going to get surveyed on that is going to common sense divert back to, you need a designated office space. Okay, because you need locked file cabinets, because you will have a lot of confidential information that belongs to the client as well as employees, because your employees will have personnel files that has to be maintained and kept with their credentials and their certifications, and different things that needs to be in the personnel files, which needs to be kept completely separate than with your client files. And your client files is going to also have personal information in there, and they are definitely going to need a locked file cabinet. The office needs to definitely be set up like it is an office that you actually work out of, and it needs to present itself that way, because presentation is everything. Okay, so if a surveyor is coming there, or a family member, or even a new employee, if they're coming there for the very first time to your assisted living facility and your office space is just a mess, it is a wreck in that area, then the first thing that they're going to do, their perception is going to be, okay, do I want to work for this company? Do I want to bring my loved one here? Because it doesn't look like this individual has this together. So if their office looks like this, then I can only imagine what else looks like this. You don't want to give them the opportunity to start speculating. You want to be able to show to the families, the clients, you want to be able to give the perception of, I'm professional, I know what I'm doing, I'm confident in what I'm doing, and I'm confident that I can provide the services that you are requesting for your loved one. Of course, within reason. Let's be real. Of course, within reason, and make sure that they are, following the regulatory guidelines. That's a whole nother topic for another day on the admission process. And there's a reason that I specified that, because sometimes the demands and the requests can get a little, outrageous at times. So we have to, kind of help families understand that, hey, we are regulated, so there are some things that we can do and there are certain things that we can't do. But another topic for another day. So you definitely want to make sure that you give off that that perception that you're confident, you know what you're doing. Yes, the family have chosen the right assisted living facility, and you don't want to give them any other perception, because then they start to say, okay, well, if that's not organized, what else around here is not organized? Okay, so you definitely don't want to give that type of perspective or overview of you. Okay, so with that being said, I think we covered the differences and some of the things. Oh, I did give a list last week on some of the things that you definitely want to have in your office, and they are similar. You definitely want to have supplies in your office. You definitely want to have your desk, your chair. Again, it needs to be an office. It really needs to be an office. So you want to have your desk, your chair. You want to have your, again, file cabinets, so that they, and make sure that it has a lock on it. Okay, you want to make sure that you have a lock on it, so that these personal items can be put away appropriately. And printer and scanner. I know that a lot of times we do a lot of things by phone, and we think that we don't have to have some of this equipment in order to run a successful healthcare business. Yes, you need to have this equipment in order to run a successful home care business, because there's going to be, assisted living and a home care and assisted living facility. You're going to need these things, because a lot of communication is going to take place via the computer, or it's going to take place via some type of digital communication. Okay, so you need these things, and I recommended last live, I recommended that you do purchase a laptop or a desktop. Okay, the reason being is because if you're trying to run your business all on a cell phone device, you're going to be missing a lot of key information that could be located inside of either the application and the means of being able to communicate to other agencies, other facilities or staff, or even clients. You're going to be limited to that ability because you're only using a mobile device. These mobile devices sometimes does not show all of the options that is needed in order to be able to complete your application, to be able to send out effective communication. They're good. They're very handy for what they need to be. But when you actually are thinking about going into starting a healthcare business, one of your biggest investments should really be a laptop. So that way that you are not missing any deadlines. You're better equipped to be able to have that process of effective communication, as well as being able to run your business in a professional manner. Okay. So I gave the difference in the views. And for this particular setting, for the assisted living facility setting, the difference in this setting versus the home care setting, because the office and everything is right there anyway in the home, is located in the home, unlike the home care model for the homemaker and companion company, where sometimes you have to look at alternate meeting spaces, because a lot of times those particular businesses can be run using your home office. You don't have to look for substitute spaces with this particular business. So with the assisted living facility, because the business is located right there on the premises, then it's expected that families are going to be meeting you there. And then again, the traction and the traffic to that particular area is going to be greater. So like again, you do want to make sure that the office is set up and it's equipped, and that you do at least have a area where it's private, so that you all can discuss the matters for the client, or admission process, and again negotiations and different things like that. So, with that being said, because I don't want to keep you too long, I don't see any more questions coming through at this time. If we do have any more questions and you're still with us, then go ahead and type your comments here, your question here in the comment box. If you do not have any more questions, I try to keep the tips at right at about 30 minutes. We went over just a little bit, but that's okay. I try to keep the tips, if I'm going to do majority of the tips for the video, around 30 minutes. If you have any questions, I definitely will go ahead and continue answering your questions. But if not, let's see if I don't see any. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and end it here. And thank you for everyone that did join me. There were some very good questions, and I appreciate that. And just remember that if you do know someone that is looking to start a business in the healthcare industry, please share the information so that they have it, so that that can, this can help point them in the direction so that they can go ahead and get their business started. So I will have the schedule posted. Like I said, by this weekend, I'll have the new schedule for July posted, so that way you will be able to plan accordingly. And again, thank you for the participation today. Thank you also for, again, the views, because again, the views do really well. So I know the information is getting out there. So thank you so much for your support. And I'm going to go ahead and end the live right now. Until next time, so I will see you on the next live. Be blessed, and I love you, and I truly want you to succeed. Thank you, and have a good day. Enjoy the rest of your Thursday.